Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's live coding session. Am I audible? Okay. Share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Okay. I think I'm audible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Today we'll just be doing a little EDA data cleaning, to understand our data well. So I don't know if you guys have seen this data before. Can I make this thing? Yes, I can. All right. So I don't know if you guys have seen this data. Like I know you guys have had this session before. So I just want to be sure that you guys have seen the data. So we're working with this hotel booking demand. It's just an easy data, like it's on cargo. You can get your hands on it and also practice too when you're free. So it's going to be a short one. It's going to be a short one. So I've uploaded um, the data sets on my Google Colab. I'm going to be using Google Colab today for all the visualizations I will do and cleaning I'll do. So the first thing first, like, so if you guys get data or if you're given a task with the data and they ask you to build models, you don't just like you don't go like straight into the modeling. Everybody wants to just start building models like from the start, from scratch. I don't want to go through the data cleaning process that it's normally that your data should go through, because the data you have most times will always be not clean. There will be things like non-values, or be things like unwanted values there. And so um, get get your data in the right format you um, before you start your modeling. You want to get to know what your data is like and understand what all these columns mean, all these values. You need to know what they all mean, right? Before you start, because this might be features that you need in your model. There are some that are not needed in your model. So you get them out and you want to understand what all these values mean. That yeah, so you know whether it benefits your model. So these are all the things that you have to do when you when you have a machine learning problem or data you want to model. So today I'll just be going through basic data cleaning. I'm not going to go into modeling. We're going to modeling by next week. I'm just going to be the basic data cleaning and data analysis, right? So first things first, I hope like you guys are familiar with the pandas documentation, because you should get used this to this what do you call it, to this documentation, because it's like bread, you know as data scientists. You have to know how to read your data, how to understand what all these functions mean, data frame, series. You have to get used to all these packages, and not just, everybody just goes on Google and like search like a blog that has solved this particular issue without actually going to their documentation API reference to understand what I'm actually doing. So when I said when I did this pd.set option, right? What does it mean? Display max columns. Traditionally, if I don't know if I can set this now. I have to restart the kernel. I don't want to do that. But traditionally, if you had run this data frame.head, you see that it won't print out all the columns, right? It will blank out some. think I have the previous notebook here too. Let me just load that. Sorry. Okay, so I don't know where. Is he here? Yeah, it's here. You see that it's left out some of these. Yeah, these three dots, ellipses. So because there were a lot more columns than it could show. So if you traditionally want to show all the columns, you can tell it display max columns. And the number of columns here were, I think, less than 40, right? Just less than 40. They were 32. So, and 126,000 rows. So I just knew that I needed to increase the number of rows, sorry, number of columns that I want to show. You can also increase the number of rows you want it to show too, but I'll leave that for you to check out the API reference. So anything, any command I use, I want you guys to, go to the API reference, right? So let me give you some. This is the input output. So this is where you get to know all the functions that you used to read in the inputs, like the read CSV, just control fast. These are general functions like if you want to convert your column from string to not to integers, this is where you go to, right? If you want to work with your a panda series, so a panda series is just like a, how will I put it now? So if you just have one column, right, df dot or like hotel, right? So this is going to be a panda series just because it just has one column and the index, right? That's a panda series. So from there, you can know all the methods you can use on that series, the constructor, the conversion, the indexing, right? The missing data handling, right? These are the methods that you can use under that. Also data frame too, right? So in the data frame is this whole collective thing I just created now. The data frame DF. This is a data frame. People just use DF. So it's not a naming convention. You can name it anything you want, right? So yeah, if you use DF, sorry, if data frame, these are the methods you can use under a data frame, right? You can also handle missing data in your data frame and reshape your data frame. And these are all the things. You can always look at all of them. They all mean something, right? This for time series, right? No time series data that change over time. Also, what I went to was these options and settings, right? So in options and settings, you can set an option and you can tell it, these are all the options you can set. All right, so I set the max columns, display max columns, display dot max columns. You see, so everything just has a way of explaining itself in API documentation. And just try out reading all these things, and if just from little you can understand what's actually going on in all this, in all of this code, in all of these API references, right? So onto the what's going to. So this is the actual data frame. These are all the columns, the column names. We have the is cancelled, lead time, arrival date. So what this data is actually is you want to predict will a customer cancel his reservation or not, right? So now you want to know like what do all these column names mean? Arrival date, year, arrival date, month, arrival date, week. So you can actually, if you are provided with the data column names, right? With all the data column names, you can always search on that. But also, they also said that data is from an article, right? So I went to that article to find out what all these column names, right? It's actually a paper from a paper. This is how a paper is always presented. So they told us what all these column names mean, right? So now you can see like from here, if I see what does adults mean, children mean, babies mean, male, you can go from here, you know that, okay, adults means the number of adults that came, the number of adults that were in the reservation, right? And the children, okay, number of babies, number of children. Then also you see something like where is that? Yeah, agent company, right? What does agents and company mean? They also explain it for us there, right? So agent is like, if you want to book in a hotel, you can always use a travel agency, right? And you'll provide the ID of the travel agency that was used to book that hotel. And there's also company. Yeah, so company. So it's now there are also people that used like they book the hotel with the company name, right? With the company they're working for, and stuff like that. So how were they able to you use the ID because of anonymity? They don't want to just expose what the company names and personal info of their customers, right? So they just had to use the ID, and they don't know what the ID is, right? It's some kind of anonymity, but still the company ID will still be like a factor for your modeling, right? So um these are some things that were in data, like deposit types. How did the person deposit? Like what option did the person use? Like, so it's an indication of if the customer made a deposit to guarantee the booking. And these variables can assume three categories, right? So as a data scientist, you know that, okay, if the person doesn't make a deposit, there's a possibility that the person can cancel. So you know that deposit type is most likely a key feature in your model, because you can always do an ED. Like, I'm just giving like an hypothesis, right? Of like what could possibly be going wrong, what could possibly be the best feature to use for your modeling, right? So um this feature says there's no deposit, there's non-refund, that is refundable, right? So if the person made a deposit, right, and didn't make a deposit, most likely the person can cancel because nobody wants to lose money. But also, if there are some that are non-refundable, now this is where you that if the deposit I make is non-refundable, I will try as much as possible to not cancel my reservation. Do you understand? So, and stuff like this. These are most of the features that you just like on on first glance, you know that, okay, these are important for your machine learning model, because machine learning is not actually just like magic. It's also trying to get patterns from data for you, you know. So let's go on. As we go on, we will like um see more of this as we go on, right, in visualization part. So also, I think also in the data there was something they call a hotel. So there were two hotels that were used in this. There was one that was a resort hotel, and there was a city hotel. So let me go back to that actually. Sorry. Um okay, where could that be? There was a place that you said that. Okay, yeah, see it here. So data article they recite to data set with hotel demand data. One of the hotels, each one is a resort hotel, and the other is a city hotel, right? So there were two main like hotels in this actual data set, right? So now the first thing you want to do after trying to understand what all the features mean in data sets is like now like looking for the missing values, right? The missing values in your data set. So now from what we can see here, these are all the features, right? And these are if they have um null. So what does null? That is it's just a way of checking the let me break this down actually for you. So df dot is null is going to return some true or false values, right? So true or false as in, is this empty? Because if I go up now, you see that the agent for this particular first row was none. So it's actually true that this is not a number, non value, right? It's null. So now these are true or false values, and you can actually in Python add true or false values. And so you can just do like a sum, right? And you find out that okay, there are 488 like unknown, like sorry, non-countries, like people that didn't impute where their country is or where they're coming from. Also, we see that um there are some non-values for agents and there are some non-values for company, right? Now this is now where your like your domain knowledge will come in. Like after doing some research on what this data is about, right? I don't know. Am I audible enough? Okay, yes, I am. All right. So also this is where your domain, because as a data scientist, you need to have something called the domain knowledge, right? So you can get to understand your data very well. So now there are two or three things you can do here, right? So you can actually like you can either drop your null values. Now, if I let me show you, like, so if I drop this now, right? If I say df dot drop, I think that's an A, right? Yeah, it's a function. So if I just say df dot drop in A and I don't assign it anything, right? So you see that after I drop all the values that have NA, all the values that have NA, I just have 233 rows of data from 126,754 rows. So you see that it's problematic to actually drop your NA values. It's actually problematic to drop your null values in this case, because dropping them will reduce your data sets by far, and you might not have something to work with. Right? So we have to not think of another way of solving this, right? So there's now something called missing data imputation, right? How would you want to impute the missing values, right? So from what I've said now, there might be some ways to replace those missing values. Sorry, let me push this up a little bit. I will not replace it now. I just want to like give you some insight on what could be possible replacement values. Right. So for your agent now, the agent, right? You can see that okay, there are 17,129 missing values for that. So that means something, that if there are not values for this, that means the booking was actually made without an agent, without a travel agency, because they say that where is it? ID of the travel agency that made the booking, right? So if now that there is no value for a travel agent's column, it most likely means that there was none that was used, right? So what to be like a good replacement? Now you have to now look at the kind of values that you have in that column, right? So you look at the kind of values you have, like df.agent. There's many ways to do that. I most likely use this dot rotation, right? And you can find out what are the unique values here. Okay, so you can see there are a lot of unique IDs, but I don't think I see any zero here. I don't think. Let me send it zero. Let me see.
There's a zero, I think, after
This is zero.
61.
Oh, wonderful. This is zero. So it means that I don't know if zero will be a good replacement here, because there's actually a zero. So if I say like if I had the data set itself and this ID, can the ID of a travel agency be actually zero? So these are the questions you now ask yourself, because I want to impute the agents, those that don't have missing values, as zero, right? So it will mean one or two things, right? I can actually use zero here as an agent ID, or I can safely just use something that is not around here, right? Since these are all numbers, right? I have to use a number. So I can impute it as what's not a value here? Range, can I use a range? So I can just like maybe even put 1,000 because I don't think I see 1,000 here. So impute like this is a missing value. So the model will know that anyone that has 1,000 and the likes, right, is a value that was not imputed since it's not here. But if I put a zero, now, let me check. This is where I have to be checking. Right. So now and now what I'm doing here is I'm indexing for a particular value in agent, and I'm checking how many rows have it. So I can see also that okay, it's only one row that has that zero. So I think I'll go with the value this zero as an agent, as someone that didn't use an agent for his hotel booking, right? I don't know if that makes sense to you, because there's only one value for that. Or if to be on the safe side, you can just use something like, okay, since there's nothing like 1,000, right? You see that there's no value for 1,000. So I can just say that, okay, if I'm replacing it, I can just replace it something like 1,000. And my model will find out or figure out that, okay, any value that is 1,000 is most likely is actually someone that didn't use an agent to do the hotel. But these are those things that will help you like help your model to understand some of the hidden things that it won't understand, because it is a non-value. There are some models that can't work with non-values, right? So I think most of the sklearn scikit-learn models don't know how to work with non-values, but XGBoost models, LightGBM, CatBoost, those three models know how to work with non-values. But still, there's something they call data missing on random, data missing not at random, right? So if you now have to know that, okay, is this data missing not at random? Like, is it not randomly getting like just missing? Get so this is when you now know that, okay, I need to replace it with something and get it to work. Same way with what's it called? The company that was used in the booking, right? Because if I also do that, because they said they use the ID of the companies, right? Also, all these functions I'm using, they're all in the pandas documentation. You can always check them out. I think this has much more values. This has much more values. And we can also see something that this data is, there are some that are integers and there are some that are strings. There's also something I need to point out here, but it's just for the back note. So when you actually go into like the modeling stage, right? So there's something they call nominal categorical values, right? So when you say something like give a model something like this and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, the model might think that something that is 1 is greater than something that is 2 or better than something that is 3. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but let me give an example with just a something like this. Education level. This is a very popular example, right? So in education level, you have the let's say the high school living certificates. You have the HDSC. You have the MSc. Then you have maybe the PhD and stuff like that. Sorry for this. Okay, so this is how it's done, most likely. So these are all the kind of certifications you have, but inherently, you know that a BSc is lower than an MSc, and MSc is greater than high school living certificates, right? So high school living certificate. So you then, like, if you want to encode this, you want to encode this hierarchy, this structure of something is better than the other, and something is better than the other, right? So you can now like this is just an inside, right? This is feature engineering. So, and you can now decide like just do you can now like find the way to represent it as 0, 1, 2, 3 for all the different like education levels you might have in your data set. It's for when you have a data set with education levels, or it's not in this case, right? So there's a way that this inherently like shows some kind of structure and some kind of or like leveling for your model, right? So but this is on the side. So what's other thing? Also, there were children there, and if peradventure, if like for instance, right, there were some missing values for children, like 8 now. So that also mean that there's something that either the person that was booking it didn't bring a child with him for the trip, right? Or didn't have a child or a baby. There's also baby, but I think babies are not null yet. So for the children, you can see that there are some null values, and you can always like look at those values and see like what those values are null. You can say, I say empty. Let me check this out. It's not giving me anything. So you can now like inspect like is this actually an issue, right? So there were 2 adults and they were none, and they were now 0 baby. So from there you can see that okay, maybe these people didn't have a right, and just left the value blank and what they call it, and that will mean that okay, there are no actually children with them. Then you can now like impute also that okay, children is 0 too. You know, these are all the things that you can. These are just basic data cleaning before you actually go into your EDA, right? So I'd already like done some of these EDA or analysis before, but I wanted to pinpoint out like 2 for us, right? To be sure that we know like what's going on, right? So if I run this company 0, so we didn't check if they were actually 0 there. It is okay. I've already imputed it. Now this is the issue. Since I've done it in place, it has already replaced all the nons with 0. So except I load the data from beginning again, that's when you can make sure. So if you ever actually do any imputation, always try to check out or confirm before you actually assign it back into that data frame, because when you assign it, it's going to overwrite it and you might most likely get some issues. Okay, let me load that data set again. So I will do the imputation last. So I get everything out first before I impute anything. Okay, so also you can also like inspect like what are the distribution of data I have, right? So you can always do that too. So this is a way to get all the numeric values in your data set, right? So you iterate through all the columns and you find out that if the actual column data type is not an object, because in pandas there are different ways, there are different data types, right? I think there's int, there's object, there's categorical, and there's boolean, and there's datetime. So if you want to find out the number of numeric columns, you can always use just this simple list comprehension, and you can find out, you can now see all the numeric columns. And you can now like, okay, you want to find out, because you want to know what are the actual unique values, like because you can't actually look at all the data frame at once. You want to see if there are any errors in any of these, like, because there might be in one case where there's a dash. I've seen data sets where in one of the columns you just see a dash, and if you go into modeling, you just see the model doing a lot of unimportant things or doing some wrong things that it's not supposed to do, right? So you now have to look at all the unique values. I'm doing it for all the values that have less than 20 unique values, right? So what is, let me show you here, n unique. So is anybody okay? All right, so if I go to some computations section, yes, there's something that is the n unique here. I don't know if, but let me just leave that. I wanted to show you where the actual value is here. Oh, don't worry about that. Okay, so n unique is a way to get the number of unique values in a particular column, right? So I'm checking if they're less than 20, because if they're greater than 20, they are most likely not categorical values. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying about category. So but let me just move on, right? So in here you see that the column, the data is fairly clean. Actually, the data is very, very clean. That's why it's very easy to go about your visualization. But in some cases, if you go into some competitions, maybe calc competitions, any competitions, or even if you're a data scientist full time, you find that the data you're giving is not that good, right? So you have to do some cleaning, removing some rows, and you actually want to find out what are those possible bad values that you might get, right? So this is how to go about it. So these are the hotels, like I said, the resort hotel, the city hotel, and this is what you're actually going to predict, right? Is the customer going to cancel or is not going to cancel, right? So and these are the possible years. These are the years they got data from 2015 to 2017. These are the months also, right? These are the months. Now stays in weekend, most likely how many days, how many weekends your person stayed. Adults, you might also see some confusing values like 50. Imagine if you see something like 1,000 or 1 million, right? These are possible like things that might happen with your data, right? If you get something like 1 million, then you ask yourself, like, how can 1 million people like book a hotel, right? Then you now see that these are outliers, and these might not be outliers because they're actually outliers. They might just be bad data imputation, or when they are converting, it was converted to something else, and you know that you now have to do some cleaning, right, to replace those very, very large values or those non-existent values, right? So also we have the children, you have the babies, you have the meal. Okay, this is undefined. Now you ask yourself, how will a meal be undefined? How can a meal be undefined? So it's either the person didn't eat, or you just ask yourself, like, it's also okay that it's undefined, right? It also means it's also a way to show that, okay, this person didn't eat, right? So then you have the market segment. Now you ask yourself, what does market segment mean? So I think in this year there was an explanation for what market segments meant. Market segments. So the market segment destination in categories, the term TA means travel agents, tour operators. Okay, so from the market segment, you see direct, you see corporate, you see online TA, offline TA/TO. But some of these values will mean something, because I think this aviation, I remember when I was doing my own like background of this data, aviation meant that these people that are booking these hotels are working in the aviation industry. So they are most likely pilots, they are most likely air hostesses, they are most likely people that the company that booked the hotel for them are in aviation. You get, so you know that, okay, would this be important for my modeling? Are people like pilots going to counsel more? And this way you go into your visualization. There are also distribution channels. I don't know what that means. And previous cancellations, um, room type. So you can now see like what do all these room types mean, because I think they hid some of what all these things mean because of privacy issues. Right? You can't just expose things like this to the public. So they just shortened it, and you now have to find out what did they actually affect your data set, right? And deposits type. Like I said, if there are also non-values in deposit type, which might be an issue. So what can we like use to impute for deposit type? Okay, let me also look at deposit type if there are non-values here. Let me use this format. So let's see. Okay, we can also see that deposit type is NA. It just means the person actually cancelled, because if they're NA, that means the person didn't even make any deposit, right? And like I said, there's this tendency of people that didn't make deposits to cancel, and this is just like a confirmation. Like, so this person has an NA value, and you know that most likely if it's NA, the person didn't make a deposit, right? And you can always like impute for that too, right? You can always impute for that and just get out this none, because none is actually problematic. None means not a number, and your model or some models can't work with none values because it's not actually a number. It's a true and error for you. So it's better you handle your missing values before you even go into your EDA than your modeling. So also these are, let me just leave out most of this. This should be okay. You see something like this: reservation status, checkout, cancelled, no show, NEN. Now there's something in machine learning called data leakage. I wanted to treat this last because we're not going to do modeling today. I just want to give you the background of some issues that we might face in the field, right? So there's something called data leakage, and data leakage, so what does data leakage mean, right? So data leakage is most likely you cheating. Is like you cheated and your model is not performing well because you cheated, because you had data you will not necessarily have in the future. You understand? So um things like reservation status, like as the person checked out now, right? So you want to predict if somebody will cancel the reservation, right? And if you already know the person checked out, that means you already know the person did not cancel. I don't know if you get what I mean. So because you know the person did not cancel, the model is going to cheat, and it's going to, if you check your model weight, you see that reservation status most likely took most of the weight, because the model just figured out that, okay, the person that checked out did not cancel. The person that most likely is not in this checkout is most likely going to cancel. It's not going to use other things because their model weight. I don't know if you get what I mean. So data leakage is just you cheating in your modeling phase, because actually when you're actually using this model in real life, in real life, right? When you're actually using this model in real life, you won't know if the person will check out or if the person has cancelled or the person is no show. These are potential cheating or cheating values. Yeah. So in most cases, because let's say a data scientist hired by a hotel, one of these big hotels, and they want to know if the person is going to cancel. When you are actually using that model, you have built a model. When you're actually using that model, the features that are going to be inside a model will never have reservation status. If you had reservation status, it most likely be as it reserved or as it not reserved. Did it reserve and did not reserve, right? But it's not going to know whether it's checkout, cancelled, or no show. So you have to be very careful to check out, are these features helping me to cheat? Are these features giving me future things that I don't have, or I will not have when I'm actually building a model, right? So, like those are the key things I wanted to show you before we go into the modeling phase, which will be most likely next week or this week. I'm not certain, right? So now that we have done most of all those EDA and everything. Also, there was this issue. This is something that they're always hidden, right? This will mostly pop up when you have actually started modeling, because you will not know. You will not know that somebody actually had 0 adults, 0 children, and 0 babies. So this means that there's actually no guests, right? But most of the times you won't know at first, because after building your model, you evaluate your model. After evaluating, you find out that okay, this thing is giving me errors somewhere. Why am I getting those errors? Right? Then you now go back to the data and find out in which places they did not predict well. Right? So after you find those places where it did not predict, this is something they call post EDA, post modeling EDA, right? To find out like why is your model not um why is your model not predicting well in some cases? So you now go to those cases where you didn't predict well, and you now find out, okay, in this particular row, there's 0 adults, 0 children, and 0 babies. So nobody actually, or it was not provided, and you just have to drop those because they're going to give you issues. Hello, am I? Oh, hello, can you guys hear me? It's saying my network is unstable.
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Yes, you can. All right, all right. Okay, thank you. So this is the last thing here. So let me run this. I'll run this, right? So this what is just doing is just replacing the new column with when they are all defined with SC. Okay, SC. Okay. So from the mu, we can know what SC means. Undefined slash SC, no model package. Right. So that's what that's doing. So here is where I like maybe took a step further into the modeling process, right? And like found out that okay, in wherever what this does, I don't let me expand it a little bit for you guys. This might be a little bit too fast. So what I just did here is that I found out where dots. I don't know why this is happening. You can always do it like this, where adults is equals to is NA, right? Can always do that, but this place is always faster, and I think this is and, right? Hope. Sorry, children. Babies. No, it's not, it's NA, 0. Sorry about that. Can always check if we have already replaced those values. There's no need to check about that. right? So if I, okay, this and will most likely be, oh, sorry, I'm confusing languages right now. Confusing languages. Hmm. All right. Python. Give me this error. Is a win. Let me check something. All right. So I don't know why that isn't working. It's supposed to, or it used to. Maybe something that has changed in Python in in pandas. I don't know. So but I hope everything I said there is clear though. It's very important that it's clear. That's this is supposed to work. Truthfully. All right. I will leave that for now. Maybe another time I'll find a way to resolve that. Okay. But this line also works, right? This is just a faster way. It's creating a list, right? And you are just dropping those actual values. Let me not do the in place now. Right? So these are now all the values where there's none of those adults zero, children zero, baby zero. So we are sure that after everything, that's okay, these are all the rules we have now. 126,565. And we started with we start 126,754. So like 200 of those rows we're actually having those issues. And that could be the issue with people that imputed the data or people that cross-checked the data. I hope I was able to like give you like some basic steps whenever you have a task of doing EDA, like data cleaning, data analysis. Also, there's also the issue of duplicate values. Now, duplicate values, yeah, it's going to be an issue for your model, right? Because it will most likely have more weights to those particular duplicated features. I don't know if you get what I mean, but let me check because I actually did check for duplicates, right? It's duplicated, but there's something very wrong with this. Okay, all right. Now I have to check here on that data frame. This is a data frame, right?
I think the method is just dot duplicated.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yes, dot duplicated. Thank you. Dot duplicated makes sense. Yeah. All right. So yeah, so it's actually saying that they're duplicated values, right? It's actually saying that they're duplicated values and like 38,000 of them, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if I look at actual duplicated values, if I look at actual duplicated values, you see that they were not actually duplicated, that they are actual different values. So the issue with duplicated is that duplicated uses some specific columns, right, to check if they are duplicated values. And so if you want to drop duplicates, you must actually like look at those, are they actually duplicates from every aspect of it? right? Before you actually drop those columns, because there are 38,000 of them, right? And if you drop them, you might lose you lose some information actually. You lose a lot of data that will have helped your model perform better. So it's very, very important that you drop duplicates, but you have to now check, you have to know are those actually duplicates before you drop them. So this is all I have for you guys today on data cleaning and data analysis before you do your modeling, right? So I don't know, are there any other questions before? Okay, yeah, there are questions in the chat.
Yes, Emeka, thank you very much. I have a question.
All right, all right.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
chat.
thank you.
Okay.
So I just following through with just the very last thing now, talking about
Yeah.
checking for duplicates.
Yeah.
So these duplicates, um, like you said, because Python, the thing with the duplicate method is the fact that Python uses some particular column as criteria, and of course, some columns might have the same values, but for the other, um, should I say, attributes, there might be
Yeah.
different features for that particular
Yeah.
row. So
Yeah.
for this one now, we saw that it's 38,000 that we are to. How can we, because I don't think it would be easy to use our eye to check
Yeah.
through all those things. But so is there a way to specify to Python to use all the columns as criteria for checking if they are duplicates? So if all the columns are not the same, then they are not duplicates. Is there a way to
Yes.
tell Python that?
Yes. I actually, that's true. I also wanted to, there's the duplicated function. I want to find out where it is here. Is it, yeah, duplicated, right? So you can now tell it the subset, right? Um, Now there's these subsets, column labels or subsequence of labels. So you most likely a list you put into it. It's now, yes, you can now specify what's so maybe you have to specify all the columns here. Or so these are issues with this duplicate though. So either you specify the subset you want should not be duplicate, because there might be some places where you want to know whether they are not duplicate. But in this case, I don't know specifically where you don't want the duplicates. There are some cases, maybe something like fraud detection or pricing, when you have it's a customer three times, or you want there's this popular one, I think loan if somebody is going to defy your loan or is not going to pay up your loan.
Loan default.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah, loan default. Thank you very much. So if in that case now, in that loan default, there might be the same person four times, they'll most likely use a user ID at this site. They'll most likely be a user ID, right? In that UID, you can now check,
Yeah.
are they like the same person in that row? Then you now just drop one. Or yeah, most likely that there's most likely a special column that you use, right? A special column, maybe a UID, something like that, a serial number that you now use to check if that person is actually duplicate. For Python, I don't know what Python uses to tell me that these are duplicated values now. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get that. Just there'll be that special column that will
Yeah,
show the uniqueness of
yeah.
the
Yes, uniqueness of the
role.
person.
So
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
All right. Yeah. Um,
So
are
and
there any other
for
que-
sorry,
Okay,
for
yeah,
the
go
parts
on.
where we can, in the documentation that you were just reading, for the parts where we can pass a particular column as the criteria that we want to use to check or to subset on. So
Subset.
is I believe it should be possible to pass more than one column.
Definitely, because yeah, if you look at this, you see column label or sequence of labels, right? So you can put
Okay.
in a list of labels you
Yes.
want to
So different columns names, for example, that I want it to
different
check
column
if
name. Yeah, to check
is
if
okay,
duplicated.
if it's duplicated. Okay.
Then you can
Thank
now
you.
drop it using these methods, drop
Other
duplicates. Yeah, to drop
okay.
them, like to remove them from.
Okay.
Yeah. So check out the documentation properly. I don't know. I'm not one to be checking out blogs. Now this issue is giving me. I'm not one to check out blogs most times. I prefer to check out the documentation itself to see what could be. Oh wow, it's worked. That means somebody corrected me. Somebody corrected me in the chat. Thank you very much, whoever that person was.
The hand operator.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the hand
Kachi.
operator. Yeah,
Somebody's
Kachi. Yeah.
somebody's asking that where can we get this documentation you're using, Esther?
Oh, it's everywhere. You can just Google it actually. Um, pandas documentation and pandas documentation. You just the first thing. And now the thing about that is that there will be a lot of things, right? There's user guide. If this is the first time you're using the documentation, there's a user guide to show you everything you need to know. Then there's not the API reference that has everything, all the calls you want to use, right? All the different calls that you want to use. So this is input/output. So you can read the CSV, you can read the clipboard data, you can read the Excel sheet, read JSON, read HTML, XML. So this is where you can get everything you need to get started with pandas, because you most likely not have CSV. We work with Excel sheets sometimes, even sometimes JSON. JSON is very messy. So yeah, this is how you can do some of this stuff, right? General questions.
Because I think there's another question on the
How can we drop
chat box.
rules for any reasons? I don't understand the question. How can we drop rules for any
I have
reason?
a question.
Okay, how can you drop rules for any reason? Okay, please. I would like to end the call by 1. Okay, so what's the question? Yeah.
I'm trying to take this graded quiz, but I can't find where to apply the table of code. I can only see the question, but I can't see where to apply the code. Can you please
I
help me
didn't
with that?
I didn't get that question, sorry. Can you type it out? Okay, you get the recording on YouTube.
Can you hear me?
Actually, you get the recording on YouTube. I
Can you
don't know if
hear
you have
me?
other questions.
I'm saying that
Yeah, I can
I'm
hear
trying
you.
to do the code, but I can't see where to put
To do
the
the
table of code. I'm stranded.
oh, you're trying to submit
Like
the
I can
I
see the
tag.
think
question, but I
I'm
don't
in
know
a
where
better
to apply
position
it.
to answer that.
Yes,
Please
Samuel is
help
in a
me.
better position. Yeah, Samuel
Exactly.
is in better position. Yeah.
Yes, just send a mail to help@amoye.io or just ask on the Ask Amoye page, because we've had a lot of people saying they've had issues with getting the data set, but some interns have even provided the data set on Slack. So what we just do is we refer you to the data set that you need for the tag along quiz. So the deadline is today. By tomorrow, the stage will have ended. So please make sure you ask any questions you have now. And for about the data set, just ask on the Ask Amoye page or send the mail to help@amoye.io, and then we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so is that I think maybe Yekini will be the last person we're attending to today. So Yekini, are you still raising your hand, or it was the previous one?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Sorry, I
All
did
right,
not
what's
get
the
that.
question? Okay.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sorry. It's about the test and assessment on the learning platform. So going to the Python for data course and the other GitLab. I think I don't know. Are there videos or texts for us to go through the courses then before answering the question on the platform? Because I'm just seeing the courses listed on my own dashboard, but I'm not getting anywhere to click on that maybe to go through the courses and complete it. So that's just my question this time.
All right. When you go to the lesson page, you see that there's a plus sign. So these are issues we have attended to previously. There's a plus sign where when you click on that plus sign, then the lessons in that course will be displayed to you. So when you go to the course again, just go through and look for the plus sign. You see the lessons there that you can go through before you go to for the assessment and the quiz.
Okay. So the deadline to complete the assessment for both courses, the Python and GitLab, the deadline for both of them is today, right?
The GitLab course is a prerequisite. We are not we expected you guys to have done all of that before the commencement of stage A. So you can take the GitLab course anyone you want. We are only concerned about the course which is Introduction to Python for Machine Learning, which is the stage A course that you were invited to. And the deadline is tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. So we thank you all for attending today's live coding session once more. Please, any further questions should be relayed to us on Slack via the Ask Amoye channel, or you can just send a mail to help@amoye.io, where we'll duly respond to everything that have been spoken about. So with that, we wish you all a wonderful day and goodbye.